Why would our officials trust Iran?
Look, President Obama wants to strike a historic agreement with Iran.
So what? I want to make sure America's safe, or in the world safe, and Israel's safe. That doesn't seem to be, those don't seem to coexist.
Well, let's back up a moment. Sanctions are never meant to be permanent. Sanctions are a tool for making a recalcitrant country like Iran change its behavior. In this case, the president has brought Iran to the table because sanctions have worked. And the president should be lauded for trying to negotiate a deal with Iran.
Well, hold on, David. He should be lauded to try and negotiate a deal with a country whose supreme leader, in the middle of negotiations, chants death to America?
The question is, what will the terms of the deal be? If the terms of the deal are strong and Iran gives up its nuclear ambitions, in return gets sanctions eased, and we start to normalize relations, that would be a positive. We have a moderate leader for the first time in a long time in Iran, so we have a chance. But we have to be vigilant about making sure the terms are strong.
David, moderate, that's a huge cliff. A lot of ifs that David just threw out there. Do you believe in any of those ifs?
Well, look, I would give the president credit for using sanctions along with Congress to bring Iran to the table. The terrible mistake that was made was then the sanction pressure was relieved, and the president has refused even to threaten greater sanctions, crippling sanctions, should Iran refuse to make compromises. And there have not been compromises. In fact, sadly, this administration has caved on pretty much every single issue going right down the line. So where we're heading now is to an Iran that is not moderate. You may think Rouhani is moderate. He's the president. But I would call him only pragmatic, and he works for the supreme leader. And the supreme leader is called that for a reason.
Not only that, Cliff, Rouhani was the former nuclear negotiator for Iran. David, what makes you think, well, let's do this. Don't you think the American people should have a say in what we decide to give up and give to Iran?
Yes, through Congress they should, and this should be put Congress, and Congress should take a vote. This is the most significant arms control treaty we have had in years, and probably will have in this entire century. But it's not being called a treaty, and the president at the moment appears to want to go around Congress, maybe go to the UN, which would be a surrender of American sacrifice of historical proportions. This will be an historical agreement, but I think it'll be a hinge moment that will make nuclear proliferation in this century much more likely, make the Middle East much more chaotic, and will be a tremendous defeat for the United States and for the West in general.
David, what about you? Do you think the American people should have a say in these negotiations?
Of course they should have a say, and Congress should have a say, and Congress can pass new sanctions on Iran if they want to, but we should wait and see what the terms of the proposed deal are going to be. The State Department said this week, wisely, it's not going to rush a deal just because there's a March 31st deadline. What the State Department is saying is, we want a strong deal or we're not going to go forward. That's the right approach.
Why should there be any deadline when you think about it, David? What's the rush to get a nuclear Iran? Why don't we just apply the sanctions, and when it's time, and when they want to really come to the bargaining table, let our inspectors in, then they come. They don't seem to want to do any of those.
Well, they're at the table right now, and discussions are ongoing. Let's see what we come up with. But I agree with you. We should push back the deadline rather than sign a bad deal. Absolutely. But part of having a deadline is to keep the pressure on Iran, which is the right thing to do also.
Okay, you have about 20 seconds or so, Cliff.
Iran is no longer feeling any pressure. Congress would like to put pressure on. The president has vowed to veto that. We've seen cave after cave. The most recent one is Fordo. This was supposed to be dismantled. Then it was supposed to be a research facility only. Now it's going to be allowed, so we hear, for enrichment. We are leaving Iran a glide path to the idea that the most important sponsor of terrorism in the world would get nuclear weapons and we'd okay it. This is not.
You know who's sweating the most right now? Israel. We have to leave.